thought I saw you. When I can't fight your demons, I saw you. I can't hurt myself to try.
Hi, thank you so much for clicking on this video and joining me for my first YouTube video on Amazing Adventures of Nikesa. My name is Nikesa. I am 27 years old. I was born in Maryland, but I grew up in Florida, so consider myself a Floridian. My background, I am a published fashion and editorial photographer. I am a singer-songwriter. I am an actress, creative director, and content creator. The topic of today's video is become a limitless creator or become a limitless artist. And when I talk about artists, I'm not talking about just the mediums that I use. I want this to be very universal, so it doesn't matter if you are a painter, if you're a graphic artist, or a designer, a fashion stylist, whatever you are. I want you guys to be able to apply these topics to whatever industry or niche that you're in. So the first topic that I want to get into that I think is really important is intention. Whatever your intention is as an artist or as a creative, you need to get really specific on who am I and who am I trying to show up as and what is my mission. A lot of the times people can get consumed by, you know, I'm a talented artist, I'm a talented creative, but then it gets difficult on how are you going to portray yourself in the industry and in the world. This is where intention comes in. When you can be intentional with yourself, it becomes very easy, or it becomes easier for you to market yourself, to brand yourself, or to know how you are going to operate within this industry and within expressing your creativity or your art. I encourage you, if you have already started your journey in whatever creative sphere that you're in, I encourage you to sit down today and write out what is your intention and make it very clear with yourself. Write bullet points, however, whatever works for you. Write down what your intentions are, from how you want to express yourself, from the type of art that you want to create, the type of art that you are already creating, and really this will give you a visual aspect, and then this will help you internalize this so that you can see where you need to pivot, see what changes you need to make. Or this can be great to see, okay, maybe I haven't been so intentional in my journey as an artist, and I need to hone in on these things so that it becomes very apparent to the audience that I am speaking to, that I am portraying myself to. So this could be a great way to gauge if you're on track, if you're off track, or if there are things that you need to improve or implement. The second topic that I want to get into in becoming a limitless creator is determine how much energy you are going to put into your craft. When you think about being limitless, it's about getting outside of a box, getting outside of limitations that either you or others trying to place onto you. When you determine how much energy you're going to put into it, this goes back into intention. When you decide your intention, this will help motivate you and say, okay, you know what? I actually want to put a lot more energy into my craft, into learning, or into the technical side, or into the business side. This helps motivate you to know what areas you need to work on or what areas need improvement. Determining how much energy you're putting into your craft is imperative, because this is going to determine, okay, is this a side hustle for me, or is this something that I'm making into a career? Is this something that I'm really taking seriously? And that's something only you can determine. The next topic I want to talk about is being mindful of how you show up in your industry or in your art. And becoming a limitless creator, no matter what industry that you're in, when you are mindful of how you're showing up, that is only determined by you. Don't let outside forces, don't let outside people tell you what you can and cannot do. That is the point of being limitless. It is easy to go into your art or into your creative process or into your industry, your niche, whatever you're doing, and try to do what other people are doing, or you see what the market is doing or what the trends are, and you feel like that's the only thing that you can do. Is like, okay, I have to do every single trend. But with doing that, you're limiting yourself, because your audience is not really getting to know who you are genuinely and authentically. They're not really getting to know your process. They're not getting to know who you are and your uniqueness and your creativity, because you're just doing trends. So I want you guys to be more mindful of how you are showing up and not letting yourself into that trap, because it's really, really easy to fall into. And you see it all the time. These big content creators or artists, they actually end up becoming very miserable on their journey, because all they do is trendy stuff, or they follow the trend of what is being set out, and they actually don't feel fulfilled. So if you don't feel fulfilled as an artist, and you aren't operating and being mindful in your own unique way, how can your audience do that? With also being mindful of how you show up in your industry, you want to be very intentional, again, about who you are, about what demographic and what audience you are trying to attract, what audience you are talking to, what audience you're selling to, whatever it is. Because if you just do trends, or if you just do what you think you need to do because that's what your industry tells you need to do, it becomes very hard sometimes to get out of that box or break those limitations. When if you start out just being authentic to yourself and being mindful of like, hey, this is me, this is who I am, this is who I'm showing up as, people gravitate to that, okay? And people can see that, people can feel that energy. And you wanna, if you haven't been doing that and you're already on your journey, I encourage you to make those changes, make those pivots, so that you can attract the audience that you actually desire. Next point that I want to get into is not putting yourself in a box. Okay, it can become very easy to go into comparison mode, try to do what other people are doing, or do what you think other people want you to do. But in reality, you're actually limiting yourself in those ways. I encourage you guys to really experiment on your journey. Really get in tune to the core of who you are and what you want to do, what you want to portray out into the world. One thing you can do to not put yourself in a box is step away from trends. Sit down, and I want you to write out what your goal is this week. What type of art, what type of content that you want to put out on all platforms that you're interested in, and sit down and say, okay, these are the things that I want to do. This is the content I want to create, and I'm doing this and I'm not changing it, because trends are popping up every single day and it can be easy. I know for me, I'll have a plan and then I'll see a trend and I'll be like, ooh, okay, maybe I should do this instead. But that becomes very limiting, because then you get reliant on looking at what other people are doing instead of looking internally of what your soul, what your creative side wants to express and portray. The next topic that I want to get into is not letting others determine who you are as an artist. I encourage you to cut out outside opinions, to cut out outside objectives, meditate, and really get a healthy routine and habit on what it means for you to connect with yourself. I can't tell you that. I can only tell you what works for me and give you guys suggestions, but really get in tune with yourself. When you're in tune with yourself, you don't need outside validation, you don't need outside opinions, and you don't need anyone telling you necessarily what to do. Only you can determine what is unique to you, how you uniquely express your gifts, talents, skills, and abilities. And I encourage you to not let other people outside of you try to influence you in that way. You create your own standards, you create your own way of how you express yourself and what you're trying to do in your industry and with your art. The next point that I want to talk about is you determining what a limitless creator is. I gave you guys some tips, but I really want you guys to hone in and you determine what that means. Being a limitless creator could mean completely coming up with a whole new genre of your art. That could be becoming a limitless creator to you. Another idea of becoming a limitless creator is completely reinventing whatever niche or industry that you're in your own unique way, to where people are coming to you to learn certain information or certain techniques because it just has not been seen within your industry or within your niche. That is definitely a key point in becoming a limitless creator, where you are creating so authentic to who you are that you're in your own lane. And nobody's really doing what you're doing, to the point where you are attracting the audience that not only wants to see what you're doing, but you're attracting other creatives that want to learn more about what you do and how you do it. In becoming a limitless creator, I encourage you guys to broaden your perspective of what limitlessness is for you on your journey in your creative process, but also be willing to learn and experiment. In becoming limitless as a creative, it is imperative that you are continuously having like a childlike spirit and energy, always willing to learn new things. When I started my fashion photography journey, I studied so much. I mean, I can't even tell you guys the hours I put into studying different photographers, different techniques, and I combined different techniques in different ways of filming and shooting to create my own eye and my own way of shooting fashion and editorial photography. And once I did that, it became so easy for me to get clients for clothing companies, makeup brands, I mean all types of people, because I took the time and I was willing to learn and willing to experiment. I can't even tell you guys the amount of hours I just went outside and spent like all day outside using different photography techniques, trying different lenses and different exposures and different filters and different ways of editing and retouching. I mean, it was very fun for me, but before I seriously started doing fashion photography, I knew within me that that's what I wanted to do, because I didn't want to just do what everyone was doing, and I wanted to really hone in on who is Nikesa as a fashion and editorial photographer. What is my mission? What is my intention? How am I going to attract the audience, but also the clientele that I want? And that's why I'm making this video, because these are steps that I took to break into the industry, and it was very imperative. And if you haven't done any of these things, it's not too late for you guys to implement these tips, because this is coming from someone that has done all of these things and it has worked for them. I encourage you guys in becoming a limitless creator in everything that you do, no matter what medium you're using, and really get outside the box. Encourage yourself and motivate yourself to learn and experiment. It is so important.